Consistently hitting land drops provides steady mana production, but in Commander that is just too slow. The format's starting life totals, larger deck size, and the presence of multiple opponents basically means playing one land per turn won't generate sufficient enough mana quickly enough to be able to cast game impacting spells, develop a strong board state, or even keep pace with other opponents who are accelerating their own mana. Without consistent land drops and ramp, you are likely to find yourself falling behind and even worse, struggling to close out games. Today we're talking about ramp. Let's do this. Ramp allows players to play spells of a higher mana cost earlier than they normally would by playing consistently one land per turn. For example, if you play a 2-cost ramp spell on turn 2 that finds an extra land, you'll effectively have 4 lands available on turn 3. 1 land per turn, 3 turns, plus the extra land drop from the ramp spell. This lets you cast 4-cost spells on turn 3, effectively skipping ahead on the mana curve and deploying more powerful threats, double spelling, or even having mana open to answer opponents' plays earlier than usual. So how many lands and how many ramp spells should you be running? Well, I did a whole deck building guide by probability, and I'll put a card up there for you. And that basically says you should be running 41 lands, with at least 3 of them being MDFCs, and running 14 ramp spells to make sure you have access to one that costs at least 2 or less mana by turn 2, so you can cast it and accelerate yourself ahead. This gives us a pretty good success rate of casting a 4 CMC Commander either on turn 4 naturally through land drops, or via ramp a turn earlier on turn 3. It's around about a 75% chance. All the odds are broken down in the probability video I linked. But what if your commander is 5 CMC? Well, then our numbers change a little bit, and we also have access to more ramp options. 41 lands gives us a 61% chance to get 5 or more lands by turn 5, enabling us to play lands consistently on each turn. 14 ramp cards gives us a 79.9% chance to draw 1 or more of them by turn 3. And if we drop this number to 12, that gives us around a 74.3% chance to get 1 or more of them by turn 3, saving us 2 card slots in our deck. Overall, this is slightly less successful than ramping to 4 due to the decreased land drop percentage, but it's a minimal change. And while we can still use 2 CMC ramp spells, we now have access to 3 CMC ramp spells, enabling us to make sure we can hit that 5 mana on turn 4. Plus, using cards like Kodama's Reach and Cultivate, this really helps us secure that 5th land drop, helping us to make up for that reduced success rate I talked about earlier. So overall, ramping for 5 gives us a wider range of cardboard to pick from, even if it isn't as effective as the 2 CMC counterparts, but more time to find the cards at the cost of reduced land drop chance. This gives us a few things to be mindful of when ramping in our commander decks. So first off, when are we ramping? Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3? And what is our goal once we get there? In both cases so far, I suggested ramping to our commander. But if your commander isn't part of your main game plan and is purely there for its colours or its ability, or maybe it is just a late game combo piece that you will deploy at some point, you need to ask, what are you actually ramping for? And this is where we can look at your mana curve. If you are running a high amount of late game cards, 5+ mana, like we see in dinosaur decks, Eldrazi decks, or just big stompy decks in general, yes, we might have a few ways to cheat those things in, reanimate them, etc. But we also need to make sure we can cast that stuff if our cheat engines are removed from the game. It doesn't just apply to high CMC cards either. What if we're a Spellslinger deck and our deck's average mana value is 2? Well, in that case, maybe we are ramping because we want to be able to double spell or even triple spell as soon as possible. In both cases, ramping just enables us to do more of what our deck wants to do. What makes 2 mana ramp so good? Well, it comes down to cardboard quality and the mana efficiency, as well as the cards it gives us access to. So for 2 mana, we can literally tutor a land from our library onto the battlefield, or we can play a talisman, an artifact that will fix our colours for us, but as well, it unlocks the 4 CMC slot of commander cards a whole turn earlier. If we look at the Game Changers list, 10 of them are 4 CMC. This is only just beaten out by the 3 CM slot at 12. but 3 of those slots are more reactive cards than proactive cards. And then if we look at everything that's available for us to play at 4 CMC in Commander, there are some absolute powerhouse cards, and dropping any one of those on turn 3 will no doubt raise some eyebrows and set you ahead of your opponents. Farseek, Nature's Law and 3 Visits are the 3 staples for green ramp decks. Fetching land types is an extremely strong effect in Commander, as it not only ramps you an extra land into play, but it also gives you the ability to colour fix at the same time. 3-colour decks often fetching Triomes, and dual-colour decks often fetching Shocklands, or in high-powered games, people will go and fetch the OG duels. Compare this to Rampant Growth, and we can clearly see the difference in cardboard quality. Talismans come in all 10 colour pairs and get us an extra mana on board and colour fixes for the price of 1 life per tap. But in the late game, we can tap them for their colourless cost once our land base is fully online. The Signets offer the same type of effect without the life loss, but you do need to put 1 mana into them to activate them, making them a much slower and less played in higher power games, but perfectly acceptable for casual tables. There's always exceptions to the rules, so in we slide Arcane Signet. That card, I have to say, was designed to push players towards the Brawl format, but instantly became a Commander staple instead. I suppose at this point I should mention Sol Ring, and how it's potentially a better mana crypt, but due to a whole variety of reasons which I won't get into here, one is banned and one isn't. From here we can look at the more synergistic ramp pieces like Mana Dorks such as Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic. These are great in creature themed deck or elf themed decks and give you both synergy towards your deck and ramp. Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth give us enchantment based ramp for 1 mana, and when played in Enchantress decks can often net you a card draw at the same time. Sakura Tribe Elder and Solemn Simulacrum are fantastic in sacrifice themed decks, Solemn even showing up in a few Blink and Flicker decks to abuse the ETB effect. Lastly, we have the high-end ramp, not just in terms of power, but also in terms of cost, with things like Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, Mox Amber, Mox Diamond, etc, etc. These things are specifically for high-powered games. You're talking bracket 4 and CEDH, and you won't or shouldn't really come across them in your lower bracket games. There are also some more niche ramp spells that fit into specific deck structures or archetypes, such as ritual effects in Spellsingers or combo decks, or sacrifice outlets to generate mana in sacrifice aristocrat style decks. So yeah, if you're in those 2 types of decks, look for those type of cards to make sure your ramp matches up with your synergy. And there we have it, why ramp is the lifeblood in the Commander format, and why 2 CMC ramp can feel so potent within games. It's not just about speed, it's about unlocking your game plan ahead of schedule. Whether that's setting up for a combo, getting your commander down early, or just playing something that's going to outvalue your opponents. Now, there are some extremely tight nuances that I haven't fully broken down to, but I am aware of when I'm talking about this stuff. And that's like ramping to 5 mana using 2 CMC ramp leaves us with unspent mana on some of our turns, comboing our ramp together, so ramping on turn 1 and then again on turn 2, but being able to use all of that mana, etc. Now, I am all up for optimizing our decks, but that seems to be taking it to the nth degree, which I don't really want to do because this is somewhat still a casual format. If this video has helped you fine-tune your mana base or even adjust your ramp package within your commander deck, please do consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing for more content like this. And if you do have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. I love talking about all this stuff, so I'll happily get back to you about it all. Right, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your support as always, and I shall see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.